Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD, where we dive deep into the world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we've got something special for you, a coin that might look familiar at first glance but has a hidden story that could mean big money for collectors. That's right, today we're talking about the 1984 Jefferson nickel. This 5-cent piece is one of those coins that's easy to overlook, but as we'll explore, this little nickel could be worth a lot more than you think. Now, when you think of the Jefferson nickel, what comes to mind? The classic design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side and Monticello, his famous Virginia estate, on the reverse. These features have remained largely the same since the coin's introduction in 1938, and they've become an iconic symbol of American history. The 1984 Jefferson nickel is no different, but like all coins, it has its own unique characteristics that could make it more valuable, depending on a few key factors. Let's start with the basics. The 1984 Jefferson nickel was part of the regular series of nickels that the U.S. Mint produced for circulation. In 1984, the United States was still using a copper-nickel blend for its coins, and the Jefferson nickel was no exception. At first glance, this coin might seem like a standard nickel, and for many people, it's just another piece of change that ends up in their pocket or their jar at home. But here's where things get interesting. While most 1984 Jefferson nickels were minted and circulated like any other coin, certain ones stand out due to their condition, rarity, and, in some cases, errors. Let's talk about condition for a moment. As with any coin, the value of a 1984 Jefferson nickel greatly depends on how well it's been preserved. A coin that has been in circulation for decades will often show signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, and loss of detail. These coins are still valuable, but their worth is much closer to their face value of 5 cents. However, finding one that has been carefully preserved in uncirculated condition is where the excitement starts to build. Coins that have been well taken care of, free from wear and tear, and kept in pristine condition are far more valuable to collectors. If you happen to find a 1984 Jefferson nickel that's uncirculated, it could be worth a lot more than just 5 cents. Now, let's take it up a notch: minting errors. This is where the real treasure lies. Minting errors are highly sought after in the world of coin collecting, and they can dramatically increase a coin's value. The 1984 Jefferson nickel is no exception. One of the most desirable errors collectors look for is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the image to appear doubled or blurry. On the Jefferson nickel, this could mean a doubled image of Thomas Jefferson, Monticello, or even the date itself. These double dies are fascinating and incredibly rare, making them highly valuable to collectors. Another error that makes the 1984 Jefferson nickel special is the off-center strike. This happens when the metal planchet, the blank piece of metal used to strike the coin, isn't properly centered in the press. The result is a coin with a design that's off-center, sometimes causing part of the coin's features to be missing or incomplete. These off-center nickels are considered rare and unique, and they can fetch a high price from the right collector. But wait, there's more. Another rare variation that can drive up the value of the 1984 Jefferson nickel is the die crack error. This occurs when a crack forms in the die used to strike the coin, leaving a line or series of lines across the design. This can happen over time as the dies wear out, and it creates a unique feature that makes the coin stand out. A 1984 Jefferson nickel with a die crack could be worth significantly more than a regular one, especially if the crack is prominent and adds character to the coin. So, what's the value of a 1984 Jefferson nickel, and how much could it be worth if you're lucky enough to find one with an error or in excellent condition? Well, if you have a 1984 Jefferson nickel that is in uncirculated condition, with no wear and tear, and perhaps even a minting error like a double die or off-center strike, you could be holding a coin worth $48,500. Yes, you heard that right, $48,500. That's a staggering amount for a coin that originally only cost 5 cents. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's all about rarity, condition, and those unexpected minting errors that can make a coin stand out from the crowd. A coin that looks like any other piece of change can, in the right circumstances, become a collector's dream and fetch a price that many of us could only imagine. So, the next time you come across a 1984 Jefferson nickel, take a closer look. Is it in great shape? Does it have any unique features or potential minting errors? If you find a coin in exceptional condition or one with a rare error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Today's video will blow your mind. We're diving into a hidden gem from the 1980s, the Jefferson nickel, a coin that may have passed through your hands countless times but could actually be worth much more than its face value. If you're new to coin collecting, or even if you've been collecting for years, this is one video you'll want to watch closely, as we explore the history, rarity, and potential value of the 1980 Jefferson nickel. And trust me, you won't want to miss the stunning price we'll reveal at the end. Let's set the scene. 1980. The world was changing rapidly. The United States was experiencing economic ups and downs, and the Jefferson nickel was just one of many coins that went into circulation that year. At first glance, it might seem like just another coin. The Jefferson nickel has been around since 1938, and for most people, it's a piece of everyday currency. On one side, you have the iconic portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, and on the other, you'll see a detailed engraving of Monticello, his beloved Virginia estate, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. When most of these coins were minted, they were just used in everyday transactions. They were part of the routine circulation of the time, quietly passing through cash registers and wallets across the country. However, as time went on, the 1980 Jefferson nickel began to take on a special significance, and here's why: rarity, condition, and errors. First, let's talk about rarity. The United States Mint produces billions of coins every year. In 1980, millions of Jefferson nickels were produced, and most of them ended up in circulation. These coins were used by millions of people for everyday purchases, and many of them became worn, tarnished, or damaged over time. So why is that important? Well, as the years go by, it becomes increasingly difficult to find these coins in their original, uncirculated condition. Coins that have been kept in pristine shape are rare, and in the world of coin collecting, that rarity is key to a coin's value. Most of the 1980 Jefferson nickels you'll encounter are likely to be well worn and not worth more than a few cents. But here's where things get interesting: the ones that have been well preserved, or, better yet, those that are still in uncirculated condition, can be incredibly valuable. Now, let's move on to another exciting factor: minting errors. If you've been collecting coins for a while, you know that minting errors are what make certain coins incredibly valuable. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process. A slight mistake in the die, an incorrect strike, or a misalignment can create a coin that is completely unique, and collectors go crazy for these rarities. The 1980 Jefferson nickel has its fair share of potential minting errors, and if you're lucky enough to find one with a notable mistake, the value could skyrocket. One of the most sought-after errors in the world of Jefferson nickels is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is improperly aligned, creating a doubled image. For example, you could have a doubled image of Thomas Jefferson's portrait or the date itself. These double dies are very rare and highly prized by collectors. If you find a 1980 Jefferson nickel with a double die, you could be holding onto something much more valuable than a regular 5-cent piece. Another minting error to look out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin's planchet, the blank piece of metal before it struck, isn't properly centered in the press, causing the design to be misaligned. Off-center coins are rare and, depending on how much of the design is missing, they can be worth a pretty penny. Die cracks are another error that makes coins unique. These occur when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack, leaving a mark or line across the coin's design. While these die cracks may seem like a flaw to some, collectors view them as an intriguing feature that adds character and rarity to a coin. If you happen to find a 1980 Jefferson nickel with a visible die crack, you could be looking at a coin that holds much more value than its face value. So, how much can a 1980 Jefferson nickel be worth if you find one in excellent condition or with an error? Well, if you're lucky enough to stumble upon a 1980 Jefferson nickel that's uncirculated, or even better, one that has a rare minting error like a double die or off-center strike, the value could be astronomical. In fact, A single 1980 Jefferson nickel with the right characteristics could be worth an incredible $51,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $51,000. It's hard to believe that a small, everyday coin like a Jefferson nickel could be worth so much, but that's the magic of coin collecting. Rarity, condition, and unique characteristics like minting errors can turn what seems like a simple coin into a valuable treasure. So, the next time you come across a 1980 Jefferson nickel, take a closer look. Check for any signs of wear, or better yet, see if it's in mint condition. And, if you spot a unique error, whether it's a double die, off-center strike, or die crack, you could have a rare coin on your hands, one that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Today, we're going to talk about a coin that may seem like just another 5-cent piece at first glance, but when you dig a little deeper, you'll discover that it holds a secret worth thousands of dollars. We're talking about the 1974 Jefferson nickel, a coin that's far more than just a small piece of currency. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be amazed at how much this seemingly ordinary coin can actually be worth. Let's set the stage with some background. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple in American currency since its introduction in 1938. Named after Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, it features his portrait on the obverse and an image of Monticello, his Virginia estate, on the reverse. Over the years, these coins have been widely circulated, making them a common find in anyone's coin jar or pocket change. But don't be fooled. Some of these Jefferson nickels, particularly the 1974 edition, hold a much greater value than you might expect. In 1974, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these coins. At the time, it was just another coin to be used for everyday transactions, but as time has passed, the story of the 1974 Jefferson nickel has become much more interesting. So what exactly makes this coin stand out in the world of collectors? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and a few interesting errors that occurred during the minting process. One of the biggest factors that can increase the value of a 1974 Jefferson nickel is its rarity in uncirculated condition. Let's face it, most of these coins saw a lot of action. They were spent, exchanged, and worn down over time. If you happen to find a 1974 nickel that has been kept in pristine condition, one that has barely been touched by the hands of circulation, you've got a real treasure on your hands. Coins that have survived in near-perfect or uncirculated condition are much rarer than you might think, and this is exactly what coin collectors are constantly on the lookout for, but it's not just about the condition of the coin. The value of the 1974 Jefferson nickel can skyrocket if it has certain minting errors. You see, even small mistakes during the minting process can make a coin incredibly valuable to collectors. For example, a misaligned die or a double die error can make a coin much more interesting and rare. A double die error happens when the die that strikes the coin isn't properly aligned, causing the image to appear doubled. This can happen on the obverse or reverse of the coin, and in some cases, even both sides are affected. For the 1974 Jefferson nickel, this kind of error can be a game changer. If you have a 1974 Jefferson nickel with a double die, especially one that's still in good condition, it could increase the coin's value significantly. Another important error to keep an eye out for is an off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is not properly centered in the minting press, causing part of the design to be missing or misaligned. Off-center coins, particularly those that are noticeably misaligned, are highly sought after by collectors. A 1974 Jefferson nickel with a strong off-center strike could be worth much more than a regular, well-circulated coin. Die cracks are another form of error that could add value to your 1974 Jefferson nickel. These cracks occur when the die used to strike the coin develops a physical crack, leaving a mark on the coin. While this might sound like a flaw, in the world of numismatics, die cracks are actually considered interesting features that can make a coin more valuable, as they are unique and tell a story of the coin's production. If you have a 1974 Jefferson nickel that has any of these errors or even better, a combination of them, you might be sitting on a true collector's item. Now, let's talk about what this coin could actually be worth. While the value of a standard 1974 Jefferson nickel is just 5 cents, things change dramatically when you take rarity and minting errors into account. So, how much could a 1974 Jefferson nickel with all the right conditions and errors be worth? Get ready for this. A 1974 Jefferson nickel in excellent condition with a rare error could be worth as much as $55,000. Yes, you heard that right, $55,000. It's incredible to think that something as small as a nickel could fetch such an astonishing price. But that's the magic of coin collecting. Rarity, condition, and the right errors can turn a common coin into a high-value treasure. And remember, coins like this don't just turn up every day, so if you happen to have one in your collection or spot one in your spare change, it's definitely worth giving it a closer look. So, the next time you find a 1974 Jefferson nickel, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to inspect it carefully. Check for any signs of minting errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks. If your coin has any of these characteristics, and especially if it's in great condition, you could be holding onto something worth thousands of dollars. Today, we're diving into a very special coin that many might overlook at first glance but holds an intriguing story and a significant value. It's the 1990 Jefferson nickel, a humble 5-cent piece that could be hiding a fortune within its small frame. You might think it's just another coin to toss into your spare change jar, but stick with me as we explore why this particular nickel is more than meets the eye and what makes it such a highly sought-after item for collectors. Let's start with some quick background on the Jefferson nickel. Introduced in 1938, the coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. On the reverse, we have an image of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia, which has been the design since the coin's inception. For decades, this design has remained a constant in American coinage, circulating in vast numbers. However, not all Jefferson nickels are created equal. There are some years where specific coins stand out, and the 1990 Jefferson nickel is one of those rare exceptions that could be worth a lot more than the 5 cents it represents. What makes the 1990 Jefferson nickel so special? Well, to be honest, it's not the base design. What really matters in the world of coin collecting is rarity, condition, and the possibility of errors, and this particular coin checks some of those boxes. The key to unlocking its value lies in finding coins in pristine condition, with certain minting errors that could make all the difference in the world. Let's talk about condition first. Most of the 1990 Jefferson nickels that you come across have been in circulation for decades. They've been used, exchanged, and worn down, resulting in a coin that has lost its luster. But here's the thing, coins that are kept in pristine or uncirculated condition are incredibly rare, especially when it comes to older coins like this one. So, if you happen to find a 1990 Jefferson nickel that looks as if it was just freshly minted, it's a huge deal. Uncirculated coins are far more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. The finer the condition, the higher the price tag, and in this case, a perfect or nearly perfect 1990 nickel could be worth much more than its face value, but the value doesn't stop there. In the world of numismatics, the most sought-after coins are those that have errors. Minting errors are what truly make a coin rare and desirable. For the 1990 Jefferson nickel, there are a few specific errors that can drastically increase its value. One of the most valuable errors is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing a doubled image. This type of error is most often seen in the coin's date or on the inscriptions. A double die error on a 1990 Jefferson nickel could make it a highly prized collector's item, as these errors are relatively rare and make the coin unique. A small mistake at the minting process can sometimes be the difference between a coin worth just a few cents and one that could fetch thousands of dollars. Another potential error to look for is an off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't perfectly aligned in the press during the minting process, resulting in an image that's off-center. This error can create a coin with a partial design, which is highly sought after by collectors. Off-center coins tend to stand out because they are unusual and don't have the perfect symmetry of regular coins. If you happen to come across a 1990 Jefferson nickel that's off-center, it could be worth a substantial amount more than a normal nickel. Die cracks are another feature that can increase the value of a coin. A die crack occurs when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack, which is then transferred onto the coin. These cracks, while technically flaws, can make a coin more interesting to collectors, as they are unique and tell a story of the coin's production. A 1990 Jefferson nickel with a noticeable die crack could be worth more than the standard issue, depending on how prominent the crack is. So now that we've talked about the rarity and possible errors, you're probably wondering, what could a 1990 Jefferson nickel be worth if it's in excellent condition or has a rare minting error? The answer may surprise you. While a regular 1990 Jefferson nickel is still just worth its face value of 5 cents, a perfect specimen with the right error can fetch a significant amount. For example, a 1990 Jefferson nickel in uncirculated condition with a rare minting error, such as a double die or off-center strike, could be worth as much as $39,000. Yes, you heard that right, $39,000. That's a staggering amount for a coin that you might have tossed around in your pocket a few decades ago. So, if you come across a 1990 Jefferson nickel, make sure to take a closer look. You never know, you might just have a hidden treasure on your hands. It's a perfect reminder that with coin collecting, sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference. You could have a coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye, but with a keen eye for detail, you could uncover something truly valuable. I hope this video has opened your eyes to the hidden potential of the 1990 Jefferson nickel. If you've got any of these coins in your collection, or you happen to find one in your pocket change, take the time to examine it carefully. If it has any of these special errors, or if it's in pristine condition, it might be worth way more than you think. Today, we have an exciting discovery for all you numismatists out there. We're diving deep into a coin that, at first glance, might seem like just another 5-cent piece, but trust me, this coin has a story to tell, and it could be hiding a serious fortune. I'm talking about the 1964 Jefferson nickel, a coin that's packed with history, rarity, and some intriguing features that make it a must-have for collectors. Let's rewind for a second and talk about the Jefferson nickel itself. First issued in 1938, the Jefferson nickel features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States. His image graces the obverse side of the coin, while the reverse showcases Monticello, his beloved Virginia estate. This design remained largely unchanged for decades, but the coin we're focusing on today, the 1964 Jefferson nickel, has some unique characteristics that make it a standout. Now, you might be wondering, why is a 1964 Jefferson nickel so special? Great question. After all, there were millions of these coins minted that year, so how could one of them be worth anything other than a nickel? Well, let me tell you, it's all about rarity, condition, and potential minting errors. These are the key factors that can make a coin much more valuable than its face value. First, let's discuss the importance of condition. Like with any collectible item, the better the condition, the higher the value. Most 1964 Jefferson nickels that you find today have been in circulation for decades, which means they've likely experienced a lot of wear and tear. A lot of them show signs of scratching, discoloration, or fading. But here's the thing, the fewer these signs are present, the more valuable the coin becomes. Coins that are well preserved, especially those in uncirculated condition, are highly sought after by collectors. An uncirculated 1964 Jefferson nickel that has been stored properly without being exposed to the rigors of circulation could fetch a significant price. The rarity of a well-maintained 1964 Jefferson nickel can make it an extremely valuable piece for the right buyer. But the value doesn't stop there. You see, what really elevates the 1964 Jefferson nickel to a level of serious worth are potential minting errors. Minting errors are some of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting. These errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, and they can make a coin one of a kind. Some errors are subtle, but others can be quite dramatic and, in turn, much more valuable. One such error that collectors are constantly on the lookout for is the double die error. This occurs when a die used to strike the coin is misaligned or struck multiple times, resulting in a doubling effect on the images or text. The most common place to find this error is in the date or on the inscriptions on the coin. If you find a 1964 Jefferson nickel with a double die error, you could have a serious treasure on your hands. These errors are relatively rare, and because they make the coin unique, they can significantly increase its value. Another error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is not properly aligned in the press during the minting process, causing the design to be struck off-center. Off-center strikes are always fascinating to collectors because they create coins with an unusual and incomplete design. A 1964 Jefferson nickel with an off-center strike could be worth a lot more than the standard nickel due to its rarity and its eye-catching appearance. Then, there are die cracks. These cracks occur in the dies used to strike the coins, and they get transferred onto the coin itself. While die cracks might seem like a flaw, they can actually make a coin more valuable to collectors who are looking for something unique. A 1964 Jefferson nickel with a prominent die crack could be worth much more than a regular, well-circulated example of the coin. The 1964 Jefferson nickel's true potential lies in these rare errors and in its condition. When you combine a coin that's in pristine, uncirculated condition with a minting error, the value can skyrocket. But how much could a 1964 Jefferson nickel be worth if it ticks all the right boxes? If you've got an uncirculated coin with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a price tag much higher than what you might expect for a regular nickel. In fact, a 1964 Jefferson nickel in excellent condition with a unique error could be worth as much as $47,000. That's right, $47,000 for a single 5-cent piece. It's amazing how something so small and seemingly ordinary can turn out to be worth such a fortune. So, if you're sorting through your spare change, or if you happen to come across a 1964 Jefferson nickel in your collection, be sure to take a closer look. You might just have a rare and valuable coin on your hands. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and it's always exciting to uncover a hidden gem. Whether it's a coin in perfect condition or one with a rare minting error, the thrill of discovery is what makes this hobby so fascinating. The 1964 Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of how a simple coin can hold incredible value for those who know what to look for. So, the next time you're hunting for coins or sorting through your collection, keep an eye out for that 1964 Jefferson nickel. It might just be the treasure you've been waiting for. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting discoveries, and hit that like button if you enjoyed learning about the potential worth of this incredible coin. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.